Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the always online multiplayer gaming podcast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things multiplayer related. I'm your host, Mike Byrne, as always, and we've got a wonderful show planned for you today. A wonderful show. We'll kick it off with a little Blizzard, but then we will move on and talk about some odds and ends in the multiplayer gaming world today. Including some stuff from Final Fantasy, some stuff from Amazon as it pertains to Lost Ark, not New World, V-Rising, and I'm sure we'll be mentioning Sony's State of Play a couple of times during the show. Joining me, as always, to go through all of it, Mr. Jason Winter. What's up, sir?
You know, I was trying to come up with a good joke for like the Facebook meta thing, but
right,
it's just it's too easy to make fun of on some level, but on the other hand, Zuck doesn't really care.
Yeah, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. I got a question though, the thought process behind let's rebrand what is probably the second most globally known IP, maybe behind just Amazon. You know, I don't know. Yeah. We'll see how it pans out. They definitely need to shake the image a bit, but yeah, I saw tweets the other day that was like, yeah, Jason, Xfinity is still Comcast. Yeah, I mean, it still sucks. Yeah. It still sucks. Just because they changed names. Also on the line, Ms. Quinlan Bowers, a.k.a. Q. What's up?
Just changing your name can't change your image. Who would have thunk?
I know, right? So how's the new room continuing to come along?
Fine. I kind of hit the decorative wall because I don't like this thing I've got going on over here, but I'm gonna actually get corkboard to go back there to put all those pins that I have from conventions and stuff that I don't know what to do with right there. So
Nice. That'll look snazzy. It'll look better
snazzy than that.
Well, I've done the count, and I think this is my 6th background for a free-to-play cast / always online. So
yeah, and you have new stuff back there from when we did Gaming Gumbo last week, which was the first time with the new backdrop. What do you got sitting there now? You do not have your third place Gen Con trophy.
No. It was my hard-earned third place trophy. No, today I just have containers. I just have my Minnesota Twins. Let's see which way. Minnesota Twins and Minnesota Vikings trucks there. More random crap that I got when working for a company that made licensed sports materials.
Very nifty, very nifty. Jason has decided he's going to change things each week.
I'm not deciding. I don't know if I want to change it every show, like both shows. Like this might be up for Gumbo tomorrow because I don't think I have enough to do 2 changes per week. But
define changing, because this is obviously a new angle.
Yeah, just put more stuff on his bins. That's what we're talking about. Just put new stuff up on his
bins. No, eventually I might want to get into some of those bins, so I don't want to just. Yeah.
Well, there is wall space that can have something on it. Obviously, you've got what is that, closet doors or whatever behind you.
No, don't open the closet. We already know his underwear is in there. We found that out on Gaming Gumbo that his underwear
is
is
right above my head.
Yeah, let's not open Jason's closet.
I wasn't suggesting opening it. I was saying that it's not really an idea.
Yeah, there's wall space back there. I might stick something on the wall back there, but I'm waiting until I get all the furniture and everything else set up in the room before I figure out what I put on walls.
Well, we can just eagerly anticipate it, Jason.
Sometimes I even wear pants, K-Max.
I was about to say, chat doesn't believe that you wear underwear.
Well, I'll show you right now, actually.
No, on that note, we're going over to the news. Oh, my. That went off the rails quick. That was a quick trip off the rails. Chat enjoying it. You would have expected skeletons. Yeah, the old skeletons in the closet. Yeah. Opens it up, Jason, and just tons of skeletons fall out. These are just the people I've murdered. I don't have real skeletons. Yeah, speaking of skeletons in closets, an interesting segue. Let's talk a little bit about Blizzard, because we do have some more news from Activision Blizzard. And so first up, let's cover the kind of, who really didn't see this one coming. I think you might be a little naive if you didn't see this one coming, but BlizzConline is officially canceled, was scheduled for early next year. Now the team at Blizzard has said we will still be making game announcements early next year, which they kind of need to. The things just keep getting delayed a little bit, but the actual event not going to happen, Q. And they listed maybe a couple of reasons, but really you can kind of read between the lines and understand what the real reasons were, right?
I don't believe these reasons at all for like a minute. The whole, supporting the teams and progressing. Okay, well, they do need to progress development. That is how they make money, obviously. But I am of the opinion that maybe the teams just really did not feel like doing the extra work involved in creating a convention when they're busy fighting with their company.
Yeah. And it's kind of obviously a vague platitude, right, Jason, where it's just like, hey, we want to be supporting our teams. Okay. But what does that mean? And a day or two later, we did get an announcement from Bobby Kotick on the site saying exactly what, at least they thought this kind of thing meant, and some steps that Blizzard is now moving forward with in an effort to, correct the harassment and discrimination and other multiple issues throughout the company. Now, I do think it needs to be said here, right off the top of these. All of these changes are good. All of these changes are great things for Activision Blizzard employees, culture, workplace. None of them are bad, and none of them are meant to be in this discussion, I'm sure, just kind of poo-pooed away as, well, they had to. Yes, they did, but these are all good things. I think all three of us agree on that. And we will talk about some of these things in just a second. I just wanted to put that out there first because, Jason, there is an element of me and many in the gaming world that do tend to look at this and say, yeah, all these things are great, but here's the big but. Where were they 2 years ago when management knew stuff was up? 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, hell, 8 months ago when you knew but the public didn't that you were going to have lawsuits slapped at you? Where were these things when shareholders, a big portion of your shareholders, enough so that you delayed your compensation vote so you could make a few more calls, were upset with your pay? When you do the right thing, you should be commended. When you do the right thing after not doing anything, and in some instances, even worse than doing nothing, you don't get the benefit of the doubt or the commendation that comes with that. So let's talk a little bit about your initial feelings on it, Jason, too. Are they kind of in line where I'm kind of landing? This like torn feeling, like these are good, but I don't want to give Kotick and Activision Blizzard too much credit for these things.
Yeah, the reason they weren't done months or years ago is because they weren't affecting the stock price back then.
Right.
Because,
we are 3 days away from financial public disclosure, which means Bobby knows.
Yeah. And to be honest, a lot of companies are like this, whether it's Ubisoft or whatever, this stuff can go on behind the scenes, and once it becomes public, then they start taking the measures to affect it. So I won't say Blizzard is necessarily unique in that fashion. In my sense, though, I'm a little more miffed about the fact that it's happening now. Like you said, 4 days before the financials are going to be revealed publicly. Why didn't they happen, a month ago or a month and a half ago? It's been about 3 months since everything, broke down. Why didn't it happen a month and a half or 2 months ago? Why didn't this kind of statement come out? Again, because Bobby Kotick just got the financials, a week or 2 weeks ago, and now started to craft his statement. Because I think he thought along the usual lines, well, if we just ignore it for a while, it'll go away. It won't really affect us. Let's see how it goes. Oh, it might actually be affecting our bottom line. Okay, now let's make sure we do something about it. So that's certainly the cynical nature that I get when I look at the timing, especially regarding this.
Yeah, I mean, Q, it's not like they didn't know. It's just not like, Blizzard higher ups didn't know. And Q4, I think Q3 is a very important number, and we've been waiting for it for a while because Q2 was, most of the bulk of Q2 was locked in prior to the public becoming aware of the DFEH's investigations and anything like that. And Q4, is pretty much going to be dominated by Call of Duty, right? That comes out in the first week of November. I don't think there's any reason to expect that that's going to do catastrophically poorly in the grand scheme of things. So Q3, a pretty important quarter. Where were these changes prior to you knowing about the financial impact?
Like Jason said, that's what they care about, right? Is the financial impact. And yes, these are all things that needed to happen for the employees. Like it's good that it's happening for the employees, but as far as like just giving them credit for being good guys, because they're finally doing this stuff, even after they're like the person who's supposed to be in charge of this kind of stuff initially came out and went, what? Nah, that ain't a problem.
Yeah, that's important, right? Their initial reaction was, this ain't a problem. They're lying. They're blowing things out of proportion. They're taking things out of context. It wasn't simply silence. Like, they became, through Fran Townsend, the aggressor. And then when employees didn't like that, they doubled down. And Fran sent out an email to the employees saying, hey, in all of my experience at super uber high management for 3.5 months, I've never seen any of this stuff. That's not what we're about as a company. And employees on the line level that are getting harassed and things are like, bullshit. It's exactly what it's like. Now, fast forward, we have Fran Townsend with a blank check to solve all these woes that months ago they said didn't exist. And now these new things from Bobby Kotick. I do want to, let's go through them real quickly on what they actually are. They're launching a new zero-tolerance harassment policy company-wide, so that in the past you might have gotten a warning for some type of behavior. Now, if after investigations, which, by the way, will be conducted by Blizzard employees, so, yeah, seems a little conflict of interest-y, but whatever, set that aside, you will just be tossed. This does kind of contradict, though, Jason, what Fran had just announced 2 or 3 days prior, or a week prior, right? Which is where they fired 20 employees, but then they gave 20 or so reprimands because there was conduct that they didn't like, but there wasn't a pattern of this type of conduct, so they thought that could be coached. Thank God they got their reprimands before this zero-tolerance policy was instilled, right?
Yeah, it does seem like a lot of this is all going to be like going forward as opposed to applying retroactively to a lot of things, except in maybe the extremely serious case like those 20 that they canned.
Yeah. And by the way, where was your zero-tolerance harassment policy? What was the policy before? 40% harassment?
Yeah, 40%. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, wait, Q, we tolerate 40% harassment. Any more than that, though, you got to go.
40% harassment as long as it's not on company grounds, because that was a point that she made. All that stuff took place, at off-site stuff where there was liquor and whatever involved. So
50% harassment is if I grab your butt cheek with one hand. 100% is if I do both. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. If you double barrel it, you're gone. Okay. Stupid. A new zero-tolerance policy. Okay. They're going to increase the percentage of women and non-binary representation in the workforce by 50% and invest $250 million to accelerate opportunities for diverse talent. That's going to include things like the already existing Activision Blizzard King Academy and some new initiatives, and they expect that to be invested over the next 10 years. Again, something that's absolutely wonderful for developing talent of all types to bring into the company. Based on feedback from employees, we are waiving required arbitration of sexual harassment and discrimination claims. Now, this was one of, and some of these sideline or sideswipe with, the employee demands from a better Activision Blizzard King or a group. This is a big one of them. They wanted an end to all forced arbitration. This is a little carve out, though, Jason. There is still going to be forced arbitration in their contracts, except for this little carve out for sexual harassment and discrimination claims, and by proxy, retaliation claims related to sexual harassment or discrimination. So not a full win on the arbitration clause, but a win on this specific topic.
Until something else happens and they have to amend it to add that as well. So, yeah.
So, like that it's based on employee feedback and not these people were absolutely demanding this.
Yep. 2 more things. Continue to increase visibility on pay equity, adding things like the pay earnings for men versus women to reports, to annual reports. Did like how they kind of threw in the measure, the little like sideline asterisks on this one, by the way, of, in our investigation, we found that actually the women were paid slightly more.
Mm.
Oh.
Well, it's because Fran Townsend probably makes more than 90% of people. So
aren't we generous? Number 5, providing regular progress updates, including quarterly status updates, as well as a detailed focus on this vital work in our annual report to shareholders. All great things. All kind of touch on what the employee demands were, but don't really fully address any of them. It's like a 70% win on this one, a 40% win on this one, maybe adding up to like 1.5 or 2 out of 4. But it is the first time, Q, we have seen the company address those exact concerns in any way, shape, or form. And as a final measure, Bobby Kotick is reducing his compensation from the company to $62,500 this year, claiming that that is the lowest amount that California law will allow for people earning a salary. And he did clarify that this is not just his salary, but his total compensation, including all of his benefits and bonuses. But, I'm sure he can live off the millions and millions of dollars of stock that as long as the price goes up, he'll be fine, which Q3 financials, we'll see, Q.
Yeah, I'm sure even if the stock didn't go up, he would be fine, because how much does he already have in the bank
Right.
and in assets and everything anyway? So I'm sure he'll be fine. He could have literally switched from being a salaried employee to an hourly employee and just paid for being there however long he's there, and he'd still be fine.
Oh, no, you can't do that because he's never there.
But he would still be fine. That's the funny thing.
I don't know his personal schedule. He might be at the building all day, every day. I have no idea.
I just want to note, by the way, while we're on this point, you remember CTW, the company, the organization?
Yeah, the one that kind of was making the big deal for not only Activision, but EA on CEO compensation.
Well, they call themselves SOC now, and they have actually responded to this and saying they want this to go for 5 years. There's reduced compensation, which they say matches the same as his prior 2016 employment agreement. So,
what did the a better Activision or a better ABK have to say about all this stuff, Jason? I'm sure they had a response, right?
Yeah, they called it a huge win on Twitter. They said it was a huge win for. Let's see what the exact tweet is. Today was a huge win for ABK Workers Alliance. Forced arbitration has been removed for cases that deal in sexual harassment and discrimination. And they just reiterated some more of the points. Pretty much. So, they like it. Together, we will continue to push for other changes that need to be made so we can make a better ABK.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all good stuff. Kotick says the right things. He says, this is going to be an ongoing process. These are just initial steps. He says all the right things. And you want to give credit, right, for people that say and do the right things. But actions do speak louder than words.
Say and do.
You have to, and you have to question the motives. This didn't come when employees came to you, Q, and said, we have a problem over and over and over again. And granted, like Bobby himself wasn't, going to be getting HR reports or anything, but there were people under him that should have been aware. Where was this then? Where was this when you knew the bad news was going to break and you just flat out denied it? It's hard to take it with anything but a grain of salt. They're all good things, but we're going to have to sit and just watch. And I know that is incredibly painful and challenging for a lot of people, where the answer is we just have to sit and watch right now.
your point of, him handling, so to be fair, right, it's not technically the CEO's job to handle HR stuff, like for him to have to do, because he's supposed to have hired people that would handle this stuff appropriately, and there should already be rules in place.
Right.
Right? Like, he personally should not have to come down off the tower to deal with that, because there's supposed to be somebody there to do that and do it properly and not ignore the employees. And like, that's why you're there, to address this kind of stuff. But as Twitter is often fond of pointing out, HR isn't there for the employees. Yep. They're there for the business, and whatever makes things easier for the business is what they're going to do. They don't actually care about you.
I tweeted the exact same thing out myself. So I am one of the, as Twitter is fond of pointing out, no matter how friendly or how much you like your HR rep, they are there to protect the company. I will say this about HR employees, though, and maybe this is your experience too. I've known many and been friends with many. Almost was one myself before I realized I didn't want to do that job. They do know the best dirty jokes. They absolutely know the best dirty jokes. Most of the time because they're written in reports that, people got in trouble for, but they do in fact know the best dirty jokes.
And I remember I spent most of my time working in the food service industry, so
lots of dirty jokes there. Just a few. All right, let's move on now to a little bit of yay and also WTF. Wait, what? On the yay part, a really quick bit here. Final Fantasy XIV did an update to some of its end-user license agreement, terms of service type stuff, to update and clarify behaviors that were and were not allowed. And now the biggest portion of this was actually aimed at the Party Finder tool and prohibited activities inside the Party Finder. So in investigating real money transaction, RMT stuff, they found that, they probably suspected the Party Finder was being used for some of this stuff, but maybe they didn't know to what extent. And so they started investigating off of every, player reports and everything, and found, we got to do something about this. And so now they have removed and said, hey, you can no longer advertise in the Party Finder for, runs for hire. Jason and I will run you through this ultimate for 1 million gil. Or Discord links and website links to, boosting and stuff like that. Now, to be specific, they didn't have a problem with this practice. They said, it's fine. If Q wants to pay 1 million gil for a run through some ultimate, she is free to go to the Party Finder and say, I want to buy this ultimate run. I'm paying 1 million gil. What you're not allowed to do is be the seller and go and say, we're doing these runs for 1 million gil. They also, yes, Justin, they also did clarify that ERP is totally fine, provided it is consensual by all parties involved. So a little bit of clarification there. And they also said if you're doing off things like, housing-related stuff, recruiting members to do odds and ends, housing promotions, things like that, you still can do those, but you have to keep them in the other category in the Party Finder. You can't put them anywhere else, or you're going to be subject to disciplinary action and banning. They also clarified a little bit of language that I think, Jason, probably comes from the influx of high-profile streamers, Asmongold's and things like that, where they define the language a little more clearly. Still some ambiguity in there, but a little more clearly on what is stalking and what is inappropriate following, things like that. And I know a bunch of people were very, concerned, because they also said, telling somebody you're tanking wrong in a dungeon, they were like, well, now all of a sudden I can be banned for, hey, tank, put on your damn tank stance. And they were like, you just be a little more respectful. Why don't we try it this way? Again, they did issue another statement just this morning, kind of clarifying a little bit. This was not on the official post or anything, but just saying, look, if you've been asking people to do things different ways or try different things or saying, hey, put your tank stance on, that stuff hasn't really changed. If you haven't been banned for it by now, you're probably going to be fine going forward. Settle down. This is aimed at, getting real assholes out of there that just berate and tear into somebody because they didn't have tank stance on going into Sestasha the first time.
Now, I thought Final Fantasy XIV was the nice MMORPG. People don't yell at each other for being. What do you mean this is going on? This isn't Overwatch.
I mean, you can still have your baddies, though, right?
Oh, okay.
I think I've been yelled at like once.
Did you really? What for?
It was one that I hadn't done yet, and I shot off in the wrong direction, trying to dodge something.
Did you end up pulling a bunch of other shit?
No, it was in the middle of a boss fight. I was just trying to dodge an AoE, and I dodged the wrong way, and they were like, "No, this way." So,
all in all, I mean, these are good things. I always like every single time this happens with Final Fantasy. There's always a, oh my god, what if? Oh my god, they're doing this now. But yeah, I have to appreciate the attempt at clarification, even though sometimes it can lead to muddying the water a little bit more. Yeah, I mean, just chill for a week or two, watch it play out, and I think everybody's going to find out you're fine. I don't know if right now is the time to go and be testing things and putting things in Party Finder just to see if you get burned, because the GMs are still learning these new guidelines as well, so maybe just give it a week or so. But I think, Jason, ultimately, these are all good things, and it's nice to see a company doing this when so many don't.
Yeah, but the only issue I had was, where was it? Maybe not. I thought I saw something else, but never mind. Go ahead.
Oh, is it? So there was something you didn't like about it, but you're not sure what it was.
Jason's imagining problems.
Okay, yeah, right here. It says, the XIV team has decided to update the prohibited activities in the game to include the advertising of RMT services altogether. Like, you mean they weren't prohibited before? You could advertise real money stuff in chat, but now they're completely... What?
Yeah, I mean, it's always been you can't do it, but I think this was more in relationship to the Party Finder hitting external links like Discord servers, where it's not necessarily an RMT website that's being advertised. It's a Discord server that when you get there, it's understood this is going to be an RMT transaction.
Okay.
Yeah. The wording is a little funky on it, but yes, it was I mean, they've been banning RMTs since the game launched, just like every other MMO.
Every game should, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
On the WTF side of things, what the hell is Warner Brothers maybe doing here, Jason? Because I gotta say, I might be like fully here for it. If this actually happens, I wasn't nearly as excited for Nick Brawl as I might be for this if it ends up being a real thing.
So imagine, a platform brawler like the Nick game or like like Smash or whatever. But the characters are basically anyone who's ever appeared in a Warner Brothers movie. So that includes Harry Potter. It includes Batman. It includes Gandalf, because the Lord of the Rings movies were under WB.
Yeah.
It includes LeBron James from Space Jam.
Oh my God.
And he has another job that he does, but he occasionally does this too. So yeah, basically LeBron versus Harry Potter, who would win?
I mean, I'm kind of all for this.
It's so stupid, but I like it.
Exactly. It is so dumb, but it's just like Warner Brothers going, hey, you know that Nintendo, that Smash Brothers, it's doing pretty good. Good enough that Nick wanted in on it, Q. Maybe, we got a lot of people.
Not just people. I'm pretty sure the thing that I saw for it also had like Steven Universe as one of the potential characters.
Yeah, maybe.
Johnny
Bravo, Fred Flintstone, Mad Max.
Now these are all rumors, right? And occasionally we bring a rumor on this show or on Gaming Gumbo, and we kind of laugh at it or just speculate. Do we think it could be real or not? We don't report them as fact or anything like that. And we clearly call out, when something is a rumor right at the beginning of pieces. So take it with a grain of salt. But it is one that is kind of validated by multiple sources that have tended to be right on most rumors, although these couple of bigger sources conflict on some of the details on this one. But they do say, hey, the Warner Brothers platform fighter is real. It's just not being developed by NetherRealm. That's one of the points of contention. And they did file for a trademark last month called Multiverse. I mean, multiverses. They could do a ton of stuff with that. So, with the play on words with verses.
Multiverses is kind of clever.
It is kind of clever. Yeah, even Jason liked it. Even Jason, in his article, another intriguing piece of corroborating information is that Warner Brothers applied for a trademark for the term multiverses on September 27th, which sounds like it could be a perfect title for a chaotic mashup like this one. So
I'm not saying I like it. I'm saying it makes
Jason
sense.
Winter was impressed. Even Jason Winter was impressed. We don't have any confirmation. The other thing that I do think we should point out is that all the rumors do kind of indicate, Q, that this is going to be made on the cheap. Like, nobody's really investing hardcore amounts of money into making this one real. So I don't know if that makes it more interesting to me or less interesting.
All I can do, all I could think when I was reading through it was what I sent you earlier, and it's basically we already know the answers to the questions of who would win in battles involving Gandalf and Batman and whoever, because the ultimate showdown happened forever ago. So
who do you want to see, Jason? Like, you got to pick one fight in the Warner Brothers universe, just a one-on-one, no 2 or 3 person tag, a one-on-one. Who is it? Oh, see, I caught him off guard.
I'll go with how about LeBron versus Gollum, tall versus small.
Gollum would just run under him.
Yeah.
All right.
What is LeBron? What is his power? Does he throw basketballs or something? Is that his thing?
Of course. Well, I mean, you've played Shaq Fu.
High-speed basketballs.
Oh, no, I haven't, but yeah, sure, whatever.
Q, who's your matchup?
I don't know. Maybe we'd have to go with a wizard battle between Harry and Gandalf.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see Beetlejuice versus Tweety Bird.
Oh, Beetlejuice versus Batman if it's the Michael Keaton Batman.
Yeah, I want to see Beetlejuice versus Tweety Bird. Beetlejuice. Chat, maybe get thinking about who yours might be while you watch the rest of the show. That question might come up later. Before we move on to the weekly bombs, we did get some more information this week. First, in the Amazon world of games, not New World. We're going to take a look at Lost Ark. Q, they revealed a lot more information about the direction they want to go with the payment model for Lost Ark, the upcoming MMORPG here in the West, and how it differs from the East.
Yeah, so basically they westernized the free-to-play payment model, but it is completely free-to-play, and you will be able to acquire everything by doing stuff in-game and earning currency, but of course, you can still buy the currency and just get the stuff. And they're selling convenience items, auto-looting pets, storage access. There'll be a rotational store of special deals. I mean, none of it sounds, none of it's different, so different that it's not going to be pretty much what you're used to in stores anyway.
Yeah, they removed a lot of the stuff that we hate here in the West generally, like the renting of pets apparently is a thing in the Eastern version of the game. That's not going to be a thing anymore. But Jason, it does pretty much follow the typical, hey, that's not egregious free-to-play cash shop. But that does come usually, and this one does, with the downside of having, 50 different currencies that you have to deal with throughout the entire system.
Well, only four, but even so, that's...
And 3 of them are in-game earned currencies, and 1 of them are
cash.
Paid.
Yeah.
But it'll probably end up being like every other game where you have these are your primary main currencies, and then you have currency for this event, currency for that event.
Oh, yeah.
And by the time you're done, you do have 50 different currencies.
Well, and you do have the ability to find your way in and out of conversion for the cash shop currency versus in-game currency too. So, and we've seen all these things before. If you read the piece, I wasn't surprised by any of it. I was pleasantly surprised by the removal of small bits, like the renting of. I hate renting things in games. That just feels horrible. That just feels absolutely horrible.
Yeah,
it's bad enough that I don't own it to begin with, But now I don't even own it when I don't own it. You're going to take it away. You're going to take it away 7 days from now.
Here's your 7-day
like
pet. No,
it's
I
like
don't
my
want
winning
that.
putt leprechaun outfit.
Oh my God, you are still angry about that.
I had to
Be
earn
angry about that.
I had to work for that one. That wasn't even like just here, give you my credit card. I had to work for that thing.
I
They
would
still
be
took it away
angry
from
about
me.
that.
In other news, we got another ARPG-ish look. Games, we got a look at V Rising in a couple of different ways over the past week. First, we got some swampy pictures of an area of one of the new zones. Looked great, but I think what was better was yesterday they released a new gameplay trailer. And I gotta say, as much as I'm looking forward to this game, calling it a gameplay trailer, Jason, I think was a little generous.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, I guess it is. It shows a character walking around in the game world in engine. But as far as like gameplay, there's 15 seconds at the tail end where we actually see what might be considered actual play and not just a tour. But every single thing I keep seeing out of V-Rising just makes me want to get my hands on it more. And I'm so nervous that it's just going to suck. That it's just absolutely going to suck. Because if you think of, and I took a step back this morning when I knew we were going to talk about this, and I was like, why am I excited for this? Besides just vampires, and I like vampires. Like, why am I excited for this? Because we really haven't seen a whole lot of...
That's why you're excited for it. You haven't seen enough to make you unexcited.
We've talked and seen like what the basic gist of the story is, and getting your powers and getting your castle up and running and all that stuff again. We know it's ARPG in style. And I think maybe it just has to do with a lot of nostalgia on my part for, the Blood Omen series, and this looking very much in that vein. So I'm a little nervous, but I am super excited about this game. And anytime they want to drop videos, I'm all here for it. But calling this a gameplay one, yeah, that was a little generous.
It also gives me almost like a Diablo feel too, really, the darkness and the nastiness of it all. But yeah, they talked on the previous dev diary, the text one. They talked a lot about like the new areas and the animations, and then they basically just showed a lot of that off here with, like you said, like 10 seconds of actual fighting. So
yeah, of actual pew-pews. This is, I mean, hands down right now, this is absolutely a must-play for me. We'll see if it stays that way. We've still got some time before we're going to be able to get our hands on it, even in a beta form. Beta's, still later this year?
For end of this year, yep.
Yeah, still into this year.
On their site.
I'm already signed up. Yeah, absolutely. Q, where do you fall in this one? Any interest at all? I know you dabble in the ARPGs. You and I talked Torchlight over the years and things like that. Does this one have your fancy at all?
I think it might. Again, it like you said, there's not a lot. It's definitely got an aesthetic that I'm here for, and I love vampires, so that's all good and everything. I just really want to see gameplay before I make a decision like that, like actual gameplay. But otherwise, it looks nice, and it hits all the other little buttons. So.
Okay, so I now know I'm not crazy. Thank you, Terra Nova. Yeah, I'm with Mike. It's the Blood Omen feel that has me interested the most, just hoping it's good. Okay, so it's not just me that's kind of like, that looks so Blood Omen, I want to play it right now. I want to play it. Maybe that's just how starved we are for a Blood Omen game. Legacy of Kain, something in the Legacy of Kain series that isn't Nosgoth. Although Jason would be happy if Nosgoth came back. Let's slide over and do the weekly bombs. Jason, you're up first, my friend.
All right, I'm going to give a bomb to my new TV. It's huge and it's wonderful. It's a 43-inch with an Amazon Fire TV, and it's even got, so I turn it on here, and I have a little voice button on my remote control there. It's got Alexa built in, so I can just go launch Twitch.
Yeah, buddy.
And she says, okay, so she launches Twitch for me. But now see what happens. If I try to do MMO, it won't do it for like individual channels. But what happens if I try this? If I try MMO bomb. And it brings up Austin Powers, the spy who shagged me.
Well, that's about right. That's about right. We were all of us.
How is that the result?
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
I mean, so on my remote, I've done some things like, search YouTube for to Xanarkand, and I get Sarah Xanark, and stuff like that, because it doesn't know what the word is. But that is the first time MMO Bomb. That is 6 degrees of MMO Bomb to Mike
just
Myers.
Just below
right
that,
there.
It does have Giant Bomb as their app, so it's at least sort of we're in the vicinity. We got to just work on our recognition. We got to get. Can you talk to Amazon? Can you call up Bezos and make sure that we get the MMO Bomb?
Actually, I'm having lunch with him after the show.
Wait a minute. What about what's Ready Check Radio?
Oh God, no, that's not coming up.
Is that bringing up?
I mean, we just hit 520 some followers on Twitch. We got a while before that's coming up.
Ready Check Radio.
Oh my God, would you stop?
No, Alexa's confused.
Alexa's totally confused. Has no idea what to recommend to you.
Never mind then.
Go ahead, Q. What's your weekly bomb?
I'm giving the bomb to Doctor Who coming back on Sunday, and an A-bomb to this freaking cat who has been trying to tear open a door during this entire cast. I don't know if you've heard it.
No, we haven't heard it.
And then she just tried to eat the Big Daddy, so...
I'm going to give a dub bomb to Kart Rider Drift from Sony's State of Play. Now, that did run this week. We have a couple different articles up on MMO Bomb for you to check out things from the State of Play. On the multiplayer gaming front, most notably, you probably want to take a look at the Deathverse article. Deathverse Let It Die, if you're familiar with that game. Kart Rider Drift is another one. And then if you have PS Plus and you're interested in social deduction games, there is one that is going to be free next month. It's already out on PC, has been for a while, but it's coming to PlayStation. And if you have PS Plus, it'll be for, what is it called? First, I don't remember.
First Class Trouble.
Yeah. Thank you. First Class Trouble. Wanted to make sure I get the name in there. So you can check those articles out on mmobomb.com. Remember, while you're there, you can check out everything, interviews, first look videos, even this podcast, not only on YouTube and on MMO Bomb, but you can catch it on iTunes and Spotify if you want to take us on the go. There's a link, in fact, on the YouTube description right down below and on mmobomb.com below this that you can click. It'll take you right to the page. Go ahead and follow it. Tell all your friends. And, of course, head on over to YouTube and click subscribe. But I'm going to give a dub bomb to Kart Rider Drift being at the Sony State of Play. We finally have a release window for this game. It's a big one, like sometime in 2022. But I just, and I'm not terribly excited for the game. It's cutesy.
You are terribly excited for this. No. You keep talking about it. Every opportunity you get, you're talking about this.
Worse than me with Mario
Party.
I don't talk about this at all. Mario Party comes out today, Jason.
Oh.
We're going to talk about that tomorrow on Gaming Gumbo. And we'll do more in-depth on the State of Play on Gaming Gumbo there, because there was only really like 2 or 3 multiplayer titles. So, but yeah, I'm just glad that it's actually getting a release. I feel like I've been covering this game for years, and I actually looked into it. It's because I have. I have literally been covering this game since like 2017 in some way, shape, or form. And it's been at every, big Nexon event for the last 2 years. The mobile, they have a different game that's mobile, and that's done wildly. So it's been wildly successful, but Drift has just been dragging along. So Kart Racer looks fun. Early beta was mildly fun, but not a lot of content. So we'll see what happens when it launches next year. Dub bomb to knowing what's going on with it, though. From the viewers in chat live here, Nasagra says, A-bomb to Amazon, the company whose cloud platform runs a massive part of the internet for relying on client-side validation for many of the mechanics in New World, like player damage. How the actual F does an FAANG company make this amateurish of a mistake? Between this and the Twitch hack, I'm considering deleting all of my Amazon accounts. So glad my workplace went with a different cloud provider. Yeah, New World is taking quite a bit of flack.
Alexa, delete Nasagra.
There is just, I've said to Troy, the best way I can describe it is there's the skeleton of something there, but the meat and potatoes just isn't there yet, at least for me. I know a lot of people are enjoying it, and good for them, but I just dabble in it. I can't play it for long stretches. Terra Nova says A-bomb to Elion, and they're dealing with the Euro server lag issues since launch day. While they did add a third server, they stopped character creation on the other 2 servers. It's still not back. Added a login queue. They stopped RVR as well as world bosses until this week's maintenance. All this from a dev/publisher that has experience of MMOs. So how did it get this far? Yeah, even in NA, we got a new server. They spun up a second server. Stojan said A-bomb to Path of Exile Scourge. Just very straight and to the point on that one. Guess not enjoying the new expansion there. Ninja Pandas Ninja Bomb says A-bomb to seasonal changes since I caught a cold, and a da-bomb to the TV AI for being crap as normal. From YouTube and from MMOBomb.com, the house always wins checking in. What's up, house? That's my orc at 1246, assuming that we were talking about Elion and the B-roll that I was going with there from the first look. I'm enjoying Elion quite a bit, though I have to admit that most of my time in it has been either in character customization or the runestone menu switching colors around. Oh well, I got my money's worth. Also, an A-bomb to my New World Company's governor for stealing all the gold in our bank and making off for another server. You shall definitely not be missed. That's rough. That's rough.
So does New World think it's EVE Online?
Right.
Only you can't run to another server in EVE.
Tactical espionage. Go ahead, Jason.
Marco Z says Elion is exactly how I thought it would be. Generic, soulless, glorified mobile game for PC. I saw the headline on Massively. They said it blends in with the furniture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I said it during the first look. Like, there's nothing, and during our review last week, there's nothing that I'm like, oh my God, you have to check this out. But it's, okay.
It's okay.
It is definitely
it's
a game
okay,
that
and
exists.
it's a time killer.
Yeah. Q's description too. It's okay.
There are 3 billion other things to kill your time with that are actually more
Right.
entertaining. So why this?
Because
Everything
you can
kill
just
your
sit there and
time.
click shit while you watch a show.
That's what cookie clickers for. Whatever.
Go ahead, Q.
Turanors,
V4.
Destiny
That's
2.
what V4 is for.
Destiny 2. Actually finally caved into my friend's peer pressure and installed it. Was having fun and was about to buy expansions. Heard this price gouging bullshit. Uninstalled right quick.
Yeah, we talked about that last week. I'm still amazed that they haven't reversed it yet. I still have the spot saved in the article. I still have the spot saved. Raggerty says, also A-bomb, if that's the bad one. I can never remember, cough, splash screen of what they are. To voice acting. Voice acting has just gone down. Like, I don't know if, I cut my teeth on anime dubs, and when I switched to subtitles, I started hearing the bad dub acting. It also doesn't help that it's the same handful of people over and over again. Yeah, when you talk about the AAA titles, definitely. Yeah, there's a bit of high Nolan North in AAA titles when it comes
They
to
do
voice
gotta
acting.
work.
They do gotta work. They do gotta work.
And I will always turn on Laura Bailey's voice.
Go ahead, Jason.
Yamikami says, the bomb for return of question of the week, the reckoning.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of the question of the week, last week, is it ever okay, talking about Destiny, for a deluxe or upgraded edition of a game to lock actual content? Or should they always just be adding in bonus features like cosmetics or prepayments for seasons, things like that? Japan's Freak says, first of all, thanks from the bottom of my heart for bringing back Question of the Week. Question of the Week, no, it's never okay to lock content. But, like you said, companies don't care about us. And yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, they do, in that they want you to keep breathing and keep making money so you can hand it to them. They do need you for that portion. Go ahead, Jason.
Genius idea. Why didn't we lock the question of the week behind like a deluxe edition? Make people pay for it.
Yeah. Question of the week on the Always Online podcast. Only
Answer
available.
the question?
Yeah. Only available to Twitch subscribers.
Absolutely. All right.
Patreon.
Yeah, there you go.
Flintstone, who I assume is the Flintstone, is going to be in the Warner Brothers fighting game.
Probably. It's one and the same, I'm sure.
On the Bungie and any other game devs greed problems like them, please just follow these steps. Make a finished complete game, put it in a box, sell it for one price, leave it alone. Well, the problem with that fourth part, though, is then you never get more content and they don't fix anything that's broken. But the rest of it is
And the reason they won't do that is because if you do it that way, like in the old days, you only make some of the money, not all of the money, which is the goal. Make all of the money. Go ahead, Q.
I mean, we did live through those old days of having a game shipped that was really bad and left alone.
Yep.
So, Raggerty, question of the week. If I'm paying you for a product and then started to use it with the understanding that everything is there and I've got parts missing, what the hell am I paying for? People do willingly pay for half or part of a product, and that would be like Blizz charging more for 10.x content because they know people would pay for it.
I mean, to be fair, they have done that. Misfit Rain, question of the week. The only actual content better be a real figurine that was shipped to the player from a deluxe packaging being used in a D&D paper campaign to show the player's location. You understand? Glaring at game studios. Misfit Rain, getting a little angry about this one. A little angry. Go ahead, Jason.
A little angry. Box says, question of the week depends on the game. If it's a regular retail game, then absolutely not. I can deal with extra stuff like cosmetics being for deluxe editions, but otherwise, no. I despise paywalling content outside of DLC, and only if it's done right. Asura's Wrath is still the crummiest example of paywalling on the disc content, with the true ending being paywall behind paid DLC. In the MMO front, same deal. I look at, say, WoW or Final Fantasy XIV with the deluxe and collector's editions of expansions, include stuff like mounts or cosmetics or things of those nature, which is totally fine. But on the crummier front, I think of Rift, which literally paywalled an item slot behind one of the expansion purchases. Garbage. Absolute garbage.
Yeah, I mean, just thinking about the Destiny thing, can you imagine if Final Fantasy, pulled, hey, here's the expansion for $50, but you need to buy the $80 version to get the 2 dungeons.
The 2 dungeons they will eventually require for you to be able to access the next expansion.
Right. It's just absurd. Go ahead, Q. Finish it up.
Tommy Kami. Well, it depends.
I think that's actually Yami Kami. I just mistyped it.
What did you do?
I mistyped.
Sorry, Yami. I was like, wait, there's a new one, but okay.
Yeah, we have another Kami.
Yami Kami. Well, it depends. Monster Hunter World has the Iceborne expansion, so technically they do lock away content behind a paywall. The Monster Hunter World is never a free-to-play game to begin with, but you are getting pretty much the new game with it since the monsters are essentially the game. But in this case, they are the only making 2 divisions. If the whole dividing the game gets into feature creep territory where you need a map to see where you can go and what to do, it becomes a problem. Even worse if content restrictions are what to the game affects the player base, or the base game players, sorry. And for example, questions that give more money, which inflates the market prices.
Yeah, I think that's a little different, though. You're talking about purchasing an expansion. And when you buy Endwalker for Final Fantasy, whether you spend $50 or $300 on the collector's bundle, we all got the same content.
Right.
Nobody's arguing that Destiny, at least none of us on this panel are arguing that Destiny shouldn't charge for the Witch Queen expansion.
Right.
We're just simply saying, wait, I got to spend $40 for the expansion or $80 to get the 2 dungeons that are already built for the expansion. There's a literal content in the game difference between the 2 expansions, not the idea of just buying an expansion.
Paying for an expansion is fine. It's just,
Yeah. Again, though, Fraycore, does Call of Duty still sell map packs? Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. Unless you want to look at it but that's like a seasonal thing for that game. That's not. And by the way, at least in the last one, the last time I played, although I didn't own the maps, I could be pulled into them, on a particular set, on a particular queue.
And
so. Yeah.
The other problem here is too, right, that they're not just gating the 2 dungeons. They're also going, okay, now you've paid for these dungeons, you have these dungeons, but now we're going to vault these dungeons and you can't play them.
At some point.
That's the other part about
you
that.
have them,
at some point.
right? Well, in the dungeons that they already have, right, that people already have from previous expansions or whatever, they're vaults. So, I mean, they're kind of gating stuff on 2 different fronts, and it's just not cool.
Yep. Oh, well. Question of the week this week. What is your dream matchup in a brawler that could potentially use any Warner Brothers character ever? who's in that one-on-one dream matchup and who wins the dream matchup in your mind. I got to say, Tweety Bird probably wins mine. Just beats Beetlejuice. I just because I want that to happen. Let us know in the comments below who you think should be in that matchup and who wins. Don't forget your weekly bombs while you're there. Dub bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad. Make sure you're liking and commenting and subscribing and checking us out on iTunes and on Spotify. And of course, head on over to mmobomb.com. We'll be back next Friday, 1 p.m. Eastern, doing the show live, twitch.tv/mmobomb. Until then, Q, where can everybody find you?
You can know on Twitter at Quinlan.
Jason.
I'm on Twitter at Winter Informal, streaming at twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
I'm Mike Byrne. Of course, you can follow me personally right there, magicman1, but more importantly, follow at mmobomb and get all the tweets about all the content. Come on over, hang out with us, rate your games, and recommend them to friends. Stay safe, and we'll see you on the servers. Later!